Hi guys, good morning, welcome back to the channel, and a big thank you as always for tuning in to today's video. So today, it's foot down Friday, but I've not got my foot down. I've just gone on 15-minute break. I'm going to spend that time talking to you lovely people. So what I'm going to be talking about today is which jobs have I done since I've passed my heavy goods class 2. So for those of you who don't know, I've been driving now for 3 years on the class 2s, and in that time I've drove quite a mixed variation of vehicles really. I've drove skip trucks, rolling offs, I've drove slide decks, car transporters, 7.5 ton box wagons. I've drove curtain siders, 18 tonner curtain siders. I've drove quite a few different vehicles because I've had quite a few different jobs within the HGV industry for different sorts of HGV work, if that makes sense. So what have I done in that time? I've done scrap work, which is what I'm doing now. I've done waste, so like recycling, like household waste, sort of like Biffa, JWS, that sort of company. And also I've done tipper work, and I've also done multi-drop pallets and parcels. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of an insight on each of those specific jobs, how I found them, and would I recommend them to you guys really. So I'm not going to go madly deep into each of them. I am simply just going to talk about my experience within those jobs. So first of all, I want to talk about the scrap because it's the easiest one for me to talk about because I've got the most experience in the scrap, and this is where I've found I am enjoying heavy goods driving. So before I actually just go on about the scrap, I would just like to say, don't be disheartened guys if you get a job and you don't like it, because there is so many different companies who run things in different ways. Don't worry about it. What a job that you might hate, someone else might love. Like for example, I know a lot of my friends who do multi-drop work and supermarket work. They're in with a decent company and they're happy with the job. Whereas for me, I didn't like the multi-drop. I mean, I will get onto that and tell you why later on. And it wasn't just the job. It was a lot of other other points that added to why I didn't like it, that weren't actually for just directed at the job. It was the company I was working for and the truck they gave me and things like that. But I'll get onto that a little bit later on in the video. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the scrap. So I'm not, like I say, going to go mad into detail. I'm just going to start reeling off points about the job. So working at a scrapyard, driving a lorry. You're either going to drive a skip truck, you're going to drive a rolling off like what I'm in, or a hook lift, 8-wheeler. There's loads of different names for them. So what I'll do to make it easier is I will show you guys exactly what I drive without getting run over in this lay-by. As I say, I'm on 15-minute break, and I'm going to spend that time talking to you guys. So that's my truck. That's what I drive every day. She's very pretty, but she is very dirty as well. There she is. It's a Scania P410. As you can see, it's got all the extra bits on, roof bars, air horns. Oh, the smell from a V8 petrol. Oh, we do like that. We do like that. That was a caravan being pulled by what looked like a really old Chevy stepside. That was cool. So yeah, this is what I drive. That's an 8-wheeler or a rolling off, so now you know what I'm talking about. You'd be driving one of these, or you could drive a car transporter, which can carry 1, 2, 3 cars on. What else would you find at a scrapyard? An Arctic. Well, obviously we're not talking about class 1, this is just predominantly class 2. So yeah, you would see Arctics in the yard. So there's Arctics, rolling off, skip truck, car transporter, flatbeds and slide decks, where the whole deck of the whole bed will come off for you to put the car on, and then it'll all get whizzed back on once you've strapped it all up. So there's quite a few different trucks to drive. Which one's my favourite? Definitely the rolling off's my favourite. And the reason it's my favourite, I'm going to put it out there, is because it's probably the laziest job you can have. You know, on a skip truck, you've got to get out, you've got to send your arms back using all the machinery, the controls at the side of the truck, or some of them nowadays have a remote. Then you're putting your chains on and lifting it up, and sometimes you've got to turn the skip round because the tipping bar, you know, to get on your hooks to tip the skips the other way around, the customer needs the bin with the high end this way, and da da da. So you can get a lot of messing about on the skips. With the rolling offs, yeah, you do get a bit of messing about doing that, like, oh mate, could you just move that bin for me and put yours back there? But it's dead easy on this because you just reverse up to it, everything's in your cab, you just lift the bin on, you know, check your back door shut and off you pop, check everything's okay, off you go. Whereas with the skips, there's a little bit more work involved, a little bit more walking around the truck, taking the chains on and off, putting, you know, messing about. There's a little bit more fiddling with that job. So out of all the trucks I've drove for a scrapyard, you know, I'm definitely most comfortable in the rolling off. I think they look the best. I just think they look really cool, to be fair. Like, I like the look of these trucks, you know, and especially when they're empty or when they've got a 25-yard bin on. Yeah, I'm a bit sad, but oh well. You know, that's why I enjoy driving. Now, is it a dirty job? Absolutely. You know, you're carrying engines around, or, you know, bits of rebar that have been pulled out the floor on a demo site, so they're covered in sloppy mud, and, you know, yeah, it is a dirty job. And it's also quite a dangerous job, I might add. When you go into a scrapyard, you have got to keep your wits about you, and I cannot stress that enough. The reason you've got to keep your wits about you, you've got cranes, you know, grabbing massive grabfuls of plate and girder and rebar. You know, just for, as an example, I was sat in me rolling off one day when I was working for another scrapyard, and there was a bar across the back of my bin. So as I've tipped my bin up, the loads come back, but it all got jammed against the bar. So the crane driver had to grab some out the top of my skip to remove it so that it'd actually slide past the bar. When he's picked it up, he's moved it to the near side or passenger side. So he's picked it up out the back of my bin like that. And as he's moved it over there, big piece of rebar shot out the grab, and it went, when I say it went through my tyre, it went through the outer wall and it come through the inner wall on the inside. Like, it went, if anybody had been walking past it, where that was, they would have been turned into a human kebab. Like, it was bad. The gaffer was like, because, you know, we thought I'd reversed over it at first, and then he looked up and obviously seen that the grab's just sort of there swinging, and the crane driver's like, oh. So yeah, it can be dangerous. So when people say wear your hard hat in the yard, wear your boots, wear your high vis, you know, don't be one of these guys who's like, I can't be arsed with that, because it will help you one day. For example, I was tipping off at EMR. Is it Salford? It was EMR in Salford. Oh no, Milnrow it was. And a lad was at the back of his bin. The crane driver shouted out to him, "Mate, get your hard hat on." And he looked up, put his thumb up. Obviously didn't hear what he said, was just going like, yeah, whatever. Crane driver's like, right, whatever, bollocks to you. Turns his crane round. I was just about to pull off, and I seen a piece of steel over the back of his hinge on the back door. As the lads closed the door, the steel's unhooked itself, fell down, bang, straight on the back of his head, knocked him on the floor. Now, luckily, he was alright. He didn't cut his head open or anything, but obviously it shocked the lad. It wasn't a massive piece, but it was big enough to knock him on his ass. That's what I'm saying. Always be checking, always be looking. It is a dangerous job. What would you be doing on a typical day in a scrapyard? So you'd be, depending what vehicle you're in, if you're picking up cars, you'd be going to people's addresses, or you'd be going to big, you know, auction houses where they've not been able to sell the car, so they've just got like a job lot of scrap cars that they're just getting rid of. So you might be toing and froing there all day. You pick the car up, you take it back to the yard, you take it off your truck, you go out, you get another one. That's as easy as it is on cars for a scrapyard. On the skips, you'll be going to residential addresses. You know, if someone's clearing out the garage, they're getting rid of all their old weights, or they're getting rid of whatever they've got. You might do residential addresses. But then you'll have your regular customers, where you'll probably go each day there and empty their bin. And then you'll have your not so regular customers, where you go there once every few months, because it takes them ages to fill the skip up. So when I say that, you're going to be doing exchanges or pickups or weight and loads. So if you're doing a pickup, you'll go empty, so no bin on the back, and you'll pick their skip up and either tip it and return it to them, or you'll just keep the skip back at depot then when they're finished with it. An exchange is obviously exchanging an empty one for a full one, then you'll take your full one back to the yard. And a weight and load is just going to a client, dropping your bin down, putting your skip down or whatever, and then just waiting while their lads load the skip for you. Then you pick it back up, sheet it up, and off you pop. It's as simple as that. You know, it is really easy. I don't want to overcomplicate anything and make people get worried. Scrap, easy job, decent money, usually good hours, like 7:30, 8 in the morning till 5 at night. So, you know, you've got a pretty decent, you know, set of hours. I would try and stay away from salaried HGV jobs as well, because if you do extra work, you don't really get paid for it, do you? I like to stay with the paid by the hour jobs, which is what I've got now. So like I say, with the scrap, yes, it's dangerous. Yes, you can get a lot of punctures. Can you prevent them? Totally, not at all. Can you help to prevent them? Definitely, just by having a look round before you reverse over stuff. But I will be doing, you know, a bit of a more in detail video of what I do on a day-to-day basis as soon as my GoPro comes, and you know, I've even ordered a laptop and everything so I can start editing my videos properly, have a bit of an introduction clip and what have you, you know, just to make it a bit more enjoyable for you guys. So once that GoPro comes, you know, I'll be able to have one of them big long yokies and be showing you properly what I'm doing. So that's pretty much it for the scrap, guys. It's not a bad gig. It's regular work, always regular work. You know, you're never really sat about scratching your ass or waiting at depots going, oh. It's a pretty easy job. It's a dirty job. It's a regular job, and I enjoy the job. And that's pretty much all I've got to say on it, to be honest. If you've got any questions, I've probably missed loads out, but if you've got any questions, you know, drop them in the comments section, and I shall answer them as soon as I can. And moving on to the waste now. The waste was the same thing again as the scrap. You know, when I was on the skips in the waste firm, when I was on the rolling offs in the waste firm, it was the same thing. Going to clients, exchanging bins, you know, doing weight and loads, or, you know, doing a drop off, doing a collection. It was easy. There's a couple of different trucks at a waste yard. You've got bin trucks there. You know, if you want a job going on the bins, you've got to think about going down residential streets that are very tight. You've got double parked cars, you know, early starts, but on the good side, you may get early finishes. Being a bin driver, you're probably going to be sharing your cab with 1 to 2 other members of staff, you know, so if you're not a smoker and they want to smoke, I've heard people moaning, say, oh, you know, I can't smoke. So that's why I didn't really like it in the waste, because when I was on the bin truck, it was very brief, you know. I only lasted about a week on the bins. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because you were constantly waiting for your second men to get their asses in work for a start. I'd be there at 4:30, raring to go. They'd turn up sort of, oh mate, 4:45, and then, you know, you're late on your round, and then they're there moaning at you because they're not going home at 2 o'clock. So get your ass in work on time and I'll get the round done in time. But that didn't last too long for me on the bins because I didn't like it. It was hassle, you know, people not turning in, and then all the tight manoeuvres you've got to do. Good thing about the bin trucks, obviously they've got rear steer on them, so they do turn quite easily, considering they're a very big, long, rigid vehicle. But it is a smelly job, and again, it can be a dangerous job. And again, watch your health and safety if you do go into the waste. I'd say the scrap and the waste, pretty dangerous jobs. But then again, so can the tippers. With the waste, again, like I say, the only different trucks that you're going to be driving really is the bin trucks or the FEL. If you don't know what an FEL is, it's basically a bin truck with forks on the cab. So FEL stands for front end loader. So the forks come down, slot into the bin, lift it over the cab, drop it into the back, and then they have a compactor blade then that squashes all the waste to the back. And then when you've done your round, go back to the yard, the back of the truck opens up, and the compactor blade will then push all the shit out into the pile. So again, regular work, easy work. What kind of companies would I recommend working for? Probably council ran if you can get a job with the council doing waste, you will have a good job, good health benefits, good holidays, probably decent pay as well. It's just sort of the agency stuff to do with waste I'd try and stay away from, because they are they are messers. And that's pretty much all, all I can talk about with the waste. It's very similar to scrap, other than it's a lot smellier than scrap, because obviously you're picking up bins and, waste paper bins, food waste bins. You are going to get some pretty bad smells, so it is what it is, that job, unfortunately. But it is, again, a good regular job where there will always be work. We're always going to produce waste, we're always going to produce scrap, so they are two jobs that are pretty good to be in. I would also like to talk about the tipper work very quickly before we set off. The 15 minutes is nearly over. So when you're working doing the tippers, now doing tippers, you're going to be on Monday to Friday work, but you're probably going to be flat out all day. It's very fast paced work on the tippers, and the reason for that is you obviously get your wages. Let's just say, for example, you're on £500 a week. If you want to earn £540, £560 a week, you can do. How do you do that? Load bonuses. All these big companies have introduced the load bonuses. So if let's say you're doing a local job, you go into a landfill, like a quarry that's not far from where you're based, excuse me, you're going to get loaded there, then you're going to take that to where you're taking it to, tipping it, going back, loading, taking it there and tipping it. You're doing that all day. Let's say they want 6 loads out of you minimum. Once you've done them 6 loads, every load you do after that, you might get £5 extra on your wages, and that's an incentive for drivers to earn more money. But it's also an incentive for you to put your foot down. And obviously that can lead to problems if you're flying about and you've not got too much experience in a wagon. Now, it can be done. You can go on the tippers when you've just passed your test. You can go on the scrap when you've just passed your test. You can do any job when you've just passed your test. You've just got to have someone to give you a chance, really, is what I'm trying to say. Tipper work can be dirty again. Obviously, going on quarries, mud, sand, soil, whatever you're transporting. But in general, you're going to be driving tidy wagons, very easy to operate. Everything's in your cab that you need. Your easy sheet buttons in your cab, you just press it, it rolls your sheet over for you, it takes it off for you. Back door, you unlock that with a button in your cab, and then you've got your lifting apparatus to tip the tipping body up and down. It is dead easy. It is what it is. Literally all you're doing tipper work is probably the most, not to call tipper drivers or anything, but it's it's the least, in my opinion, it's the job that I was doing that I was least worried about getting it wrong. There's not much you can do wrong. You've got, the only things you've got to remember when you're tipping is just remember to be on level ground as much as you can, and just keep your wits about you on the landfill site, because your tipping body's up in the air and you've got a bit of a sticky load on, and you're turning your wheels this way and that way and you're going against the camber and things like that, and then you shunt the truck forward, it can tip over. I've seen it happen. Again, it's better to have a job where you're getting paid by the hour doing the tippers, but some of them who offer salaries offer pretty decent salaries, to be fair, and they're pretty good with keeping track of where you are at what time and what you're doing. So again, with the tippers, it's not a bad job. Absolutely enjoyed it, but I did miss the scrap, and that is why I've come back onto the scrap. So next job I've done was the multi-drop. Now this is the one I had problems with. I had problems with it because I kept getting loads rejected. I'd get there and it'd be like, oh, you're not booked in, or whatever, or we weren't expecting you, things like that. So I got a lot of that. They gave me a terrible truck, which was an MAN, and it did break down near enough every day. One day I literally spent the whole day in a lay-by like this, because none of them would answer the phones. I couldn't get hold of the agency I was working through, so that really ruined the experience of that job for me, I'll be honest with you. That's put me off going back to it for good. And not only that, you do see a lot of negative comments towards that specific line of work in this job, because you know, the lads are trying to do the loads, they're not being able to use the toilet, they're not, you know, getting paid the best. So I can see why it's not everybody's first choice. Me personally, I didn't mind the driving about. I didn't mind the multi-dropping because I'm pretty good with me coordinates. You know, I know where I am roughly a lot of the time, and if not, I can use my Google Maps or whatever, or even ring my dad and say, "Ah, Dad, you know, I'm here. Do you know where this place is?" And 9 times out of 10, my old fella will be able to tell me straight away, "Yeah, it's here." But that job was a lot of rushing about and getting stressed out because, like one of me. Someone commented on the channel, I don't know whether a subscriber, but somebody did comment and basically said, you know, it's the worst job going on trucks. And I can believe that because, you know, the problems I had, and I only did that job for probably just a little bit over a month, you know, and I really didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was absolutely crap. The truck was crap, the company was crap. I'm not speaking for all of them, but everything I've got to say negative about that job is what I see and hear other people saying about those jobs. So excuse me. Me personally, if you don't mind getting a bit dirty, you know, and you want to earn good money and you want to do decent hours and a pretty easy job, you know, waste and scrap is where it's at, in my opinion. Or, you know, doing the cars, that's a good job as well. Because not only that, I'm not being funny, if you're into your cars, you go and picking scrap cars up, you will literally always see, oh, I wouldn't mind that. You just ask your gaffer, can I have the radio out of that? Can I have the body kit off that? You know, can I have the exhaust off that? 9 times out of 10, you've got a decent gaffer, they're going to say yeah. Well, like I say, you know, for me, I most enjoyed doing the scrap and the waste work. I did enjoy doing the tippers, but like I say, I'd not long since passed and it was a bit too fast paced. You know, I felt like I was pushing my skills every day beyond a limit where I was happy doing it. And after me just passing my motorbike test and getting a big powerful superbike, everyone's always said, you know, don't outride your limits, don't do this, don't do that, you know, and that's what I found myself doing on tippers. It was like, you know, on the CB, come on Dave, you know, where are you now? And I'm like, I'm just learning my stuff, man, let me do it. But, you know, that's just the way it was, and I ended up coming back to the scrap, and I've been doing this ever since, and this is what I'm happy doing. But I'm going to end the video now because it is getting on a bit. If any of you guys have got any questions about any of the jobs, because I'm sure I've missed loads, you know, I'm trying to squeeze so much into one short video because I don't like them getting to this stage where they're like 20 minutes. I like to keep them around the 10-minute mark if I can, but because I'm talking and I'm giving information, I hope you guys don't mind the videos running on a bit longer. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me today, guys. You know, I wasn't keen on the multi-drop. The tippers, I did like it, but I wasn't ready for the pace of it. And I'm only holding my hands up and being honest. Wasn't ready for the pace for it. Waste, stinky job, but, you know, pretty solid work every day. And the scrap, this is where I'm happy. This is my happy place. And I want you guys to find your happy job. And don't be worried if it takes you 5, 10, 15 employers later before you find a job you're happy with. You will find one. You will find an employer who looks at you and goes, do you know what, he's a good lad, him. You know, look after him. When the new truck comes in, give it him. You know, when we do the pay rises, make sure he's one of the first ones to know that we're doing it. When we do this, make sure he knows. You know, trust me, they're not all bad. You know, everyone, oh, it's a shit job. It's not. You know, there is good people out there. Just like my company lets me pick my daughter up from school, and then they get one of the ladies in our office to look after her while I finish my shift. That is a good company, guys. I've never heard of that in my life, but that's what my company's doing for me. So anyway, I wish you all the best. I hope you guys are getting your applications heard, and, you know, people are getting back to you with jobs, because I know it can be a little bit hit and miss when you're first trying to apply and you've not got the experience. But anyway, I will stop talking now. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a good weekend, and I shall see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. All the best. And like I say, if you did like the video, please like and subscribe, and I shall see you guys on the next one. Take care.